but she was like kind of there. And Sarah Rose and I are just gonna be best friends after this. And then I also executive produced a short film on Mack's story as well. So I'm personally just really gratified to be asked to moderate this panel, and I'm so thrilled to be here to talk about something that is definitely near and dear to my heart. So without my heart, singular, I don't know why I have like multiple hearts.
Are you
like,
Vulcan?
Yes, I love this. I'll talk about this so much. I have sprouted new hearts. Now that I'll just stop talking. But for each of you, wanted to start with, hopefully, you can give us a little bit of an update on what's been happening in your lives. Just from what I know that a ton has happened in your lives since the film wrapped, and where we stopped with your stories. So why don't we start with an update and what you're doing now? We'll start with you, Sarah.
Okay. Well, so far, since the film ended, we finally got HB 1319 to pass as a transgender non-discrimination law in New Hampshire, which is really amazing. What else? I have finally committed to UNH up in New Hampshire, and I will be studying social work and hopefully minoring in English.
Congratulations.
Since the film ended, I was one of the first transgender athletes to openly run at New Balance Nationals, which was a really cool experience. And now that indoor has ended, outdoor is now starting.
Since the film, I was a state champion again in the 55 and 300.
Oh, 300? There you.
And I was the first person ever to be a 3-time champion at New England. So, yeah.
I'm wrestling at Life still. Right now we're in the off season. I'm going to be going back to Texas to train with Team Texas. My old coach has invited me back to come train with them, to train them for freestyle and Greco season for Fargo. So I'll be training there in May, June, and July, and going back to school in the fall in August.
That's wonderful. Great. Good team. So, for I think each of you, you've been on the receiving end of a lot of media attention, of course to varying degrees, and not all of it has been positive. How has that affected you?
Am I starting?
You can switch it up, we can go popcorn style, we can go right down the line, we can start at Mack, whatever you want.
Yeah, it hasn't affected me. I mean, I'll just keep on doing me, so
I'm going to challenge you on that a little bit. There's a spot in Changing the Game where you were really vulnerable and you opened up about, I believe it was the summer, I want to say it was summer 2017, where it was really rough. And I remember during that time in your life, you really retreated.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of media attention, it was even worse than my senior year. I think my coach realized it, my grandmother realized it, a lot of people realized it, but I didn't say anything about it because I'm independent and I'm very strong and I'm held to a very high standard, and wrestling taught me that to not show your emotions, to keep on going. So when it all became too much, it kind of just got to me, and when I was alone for a little while, my friends, when I would get off work, I would come home, and then or got to my dad's apartment, because I was staying in my dad's apartment, because I think I kind of shut myself out during that summertime when freestyle and Greco was over. So I think, and then after that, my friend came and actually came to the door. I called her because I was scared. I was like, I actually had a realization when that happened, and was like, I don't want that. I don't want to die. I was like, if I die, what would everything I've done be worth? And so I called her, and so she came over and opened the door, and we had a very long, deep conversation, and so we've been friends ever since. And I think then it has made, since that day, it has made me a stronger person as to what I do now, and that everything that I do in life, it has a meaning, it has a purpose, whether it be bad or good. Like, everything happens for a reason, and that just gets you one step closer to where you actually want to be.
It affected me in a good and a bad way. So I'll start with the bad way. When we first went viral, like, it was new for me because, like, I don't know, like, I was like sad at a point, like, because I read through the comments and it's like, wow, like, it shows how like cruel people can be. So I was like kind of sad. I was like shutting people out, but then eventually I got over it, and it affected me in a good way because I took it and I stored it. So every time I ran, I just left it all on the track, and it built my character. And now I've been through that, so I feel like I could go through anything. Yeah, I'd have to agree with what Terry said. Like, all the negative, I guess, naysayers and all that. Personally, for me, it hasn't affected me in a negative way. I think that personally, I've just taken it all in stride, and I haven't let any of it, I guess, hit too close to home at all.
How are you able to do that?
I don't know. I just like, as long as I'm still running, the comments and like what people say just, I don't know. It just doesn't, like, there's no point. I think people are just wasting their time saying all these negative things on the internet, because at the end of the day, I'm still running on the female team. So, like, I don't know. I just feel like their comments they just don't mean anything.
I love you.
I think for me, because I know, because I haven't had that big of like social media like presence, like national level kind of, but it's very like communal and like state like level of like discrimination for me. I found that like within my school there was like little sections of people who like really had it out for me, and I guess I kind of just ignored that and I put that aside because it's like, I don't need to deal with you right now. Like, you're here in my school, I don't care. And it's like, you can say all these things, but it's not gonna tear me down because I am being who I wanna be. And it's like, just go away. I wanna focus on me and being my authentic self.
Yeah. No, I thank you all for sharing that. It's been, you know, really interesting over the last couple of years to see the idea of like transgender athletes in particular move from a really like communal based conversation, like this is a conversation that's happening in every community around the country, to something that has become a national point of contention around the legitimacy of equality for LGBTQ people writ large, which is just very odd to me, but I think has really upped the stakes for what this conversation is. But for you, Andraya and Terry specifically, you know, I'm just gonna say it, like, as a brown person, there are like a ton of brown folks in Connecticut, you know what I'm saying? But, like, so I think it's really great that two of the publicly out transgender athletes in the state are both Black trans women. And for you two, how special has it been to compete alongside one another and share that specific identity?
It feels good because we have like a lot in common, so like I don't feel alone. Like I have someone I can talk to. Like when you're transgender, it's just like we communicate with each other like better than like I would with like a cisgender, because they can like listen but they don't really fully like know the feeling. And I feel like we know the feeling, so, and then we feed off each other. We're running, it's just like we feed off each other. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, nothing bad.
No, I think you took everything out the words of my mouth. You're right, we do feed off each other in races and things like that. But like, yeah, as you said, we do understand each other on like a more, on a deeper level. And I think that really builds our friendship and our trust in each other.
How about, I think, you know, from each of your stories, there have been points where you know, somewhere or others, like you've grown into, I think, being activists in a way, or have had periods of your careers where you have felt the need to be activists. I was wondering if you could speak about your relationship with activism. Yeah, what's your relationship to activism? There we go.
I think activism is very personal to me because it's not just for me. It's for everybody else who's also transgender, and it's for the greater good because I'm putting out a story that can be related to other trans people in this world, and it's just amazing to be able to have a platform and use that to create good in this world.
I guess in the beginning, I feel that maybe unconsciously I might have like distanced myself from being an activist. Like I may have felt that was like a lot of responsibility to take on in the very beginning. So I kind of would say like, oh, I don't see myself as an activist. Maybe like distancing myself from that title. But now, a few years later, I feel that it has really, shaped who I am, shaped my character. And I think I'm very proud to be an activist. As you said, like in order to help people and support people and just for other people like us to know that they aren't alone. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, at first, like, I try to like not just to the side. I'm like, oh my god, I'm already being talked about. Maybe I should just chill out. But after a while, I thought about it. I'm like, I really have a chance to help other people. So, like, if I can, I might as well just help. So, and then I like how people come to me and they're like, before I did like interviews and stuff, they're like, can I talk to you? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, you really inspired me to do this. And even people that's not transgender tell me that I inspired them. And like, that makes me cry because all I'm doing is just being myself, but it's making a big impact. So I'm proud of that.
That's a good point.
It's like the saying, actions speak louder than words. Like I said, for the longest while, my coach and my grandmother kind of kept me away from everything that was happening, but the things that I was doing were making an impact on others as I kept on moving forward. Even though I didn't really speak to anybody and didn't talk to anybody about the situation, I think it gives people, especially trans athletes, and honestly anybody, it doesn't even have to be targeted towards any specific group. It's more like life. You could do anything in life as long as you put your mind to it and you have a goal and you want to reach that goal. You do everything that it takes, anything in your power to do what you got to do in order to strive to be the greatest and to be the best person that you can be every single day.
Sarah, as you spoke about activism being very personal to you, and then also about how within your state and like when it came to like any sort of pushback, it was very like communal. It was also very personal. I thought one of the most moving scenes in the film, at least for me, was when the bill, now law, was being debated, or it was not really debated, but there's testimony being shared, and you were in the room and you were listening to these things that folks were saying. What was that experience like, and how were you able to sort of push past that and recenter yourself on the goal that you had?
From how I viewed it when I was sitting there listening to all these testimonies against the bill, I was kind of just like, wow, they're uneducated. They have no clue what they're talking about. And from that, I kind of was able to push all the negative away and just think about the positive, because I was like, my speech, I know what I'm talking about. I know it's my story, it's my personal life, and I'm just gonna think about that rather than what all these other people are saying, because who knows what they're gonna say. It was just coming out from their mouths. I'm just like, okay.
You're like, oh, this is really happening.
This is really happening. But yeah, it just kind of just focusing on the positive rather than the negative, and instead of letting it get to me internally, I was just like, okay. processing it through.
No, I think the point that you make about a lot of those statements being like really uneducated and ignorant and just folks not really knowing what they're talking about, I think for me, brings us back to like the central question, I think facing us when it comes to what transgender inclusion looks like in sport. And for each of you, I know it's been levied against you, where it's like critics say that trans participation is unfair, that there's an unfair advantage, that you're taking opportunities away, yada, 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 right? But I thought it would be interesting from your perspective, what do each of you think is fair?
I don't think sports is fair at all to begin with, because there's a lot of people who get like better training than others, because we have people in the state that like been running track since they're like 5 years old. So what is it if someone has been running track since they're 5 years old and they get to high school and you compete against someone who just started, you're gonna automatically be better than them. So yeah, I don't feel like it's no fear, because everybody have different training, everyone is different heights, some people are stronger than others, that's just how it is.
It's just where you start. I've said this before in several like talks I've had with Mikey B, and asked if I could get beat. I think one of his questions was if I would have gotten beat by a girl. I was like, yeah. To be honest, because my sophomore year, there was these 2-3 girls that were badasses, and I could have gotten my ass handed to my junior year. Like I could have not won state, but they graduated. So it's just about timing. It's all about when you start, how much work you put in. So.
Well, then how many losses did you have your first 2 years?
My freshman year, I had like a even record between it was like 15 losses and like 20 wins, and then my sophomore year, I started getting more serious about it, so I had like 12 losses and 25 wins, and then that's when all the good girls got out, because I was like, dang, because like I was right behind the good ones that were about to graduate, because I was right there, and so when they graduated, I filled in, and I was beating everybody that was below me, so then that's how I just was good, and I just kept getting better and better and better. Did more and more and more and more, because my coach was like, you're not gonna be the best if you do average. If you do average things, like everybody, like average athletes aren't gonna succeed and have the success that they want if they just do the bare minimum. Successful athletes do more, and then do even more after that.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that's often lost in the conversation about what you experienced in Texas is that not only is Texas one of only 9 states that has a restrictive policy, the one that you wrestled under, in addition to that, it's also one of only now, but at the time, 6 states that had sanctioned girls wrestling. And so, in every other state, aside from those 6, now 7, you have mixed gender wrestling. And so, cisgender boys and cisgender girls and trans folks who are surely also wrestling in there too, are wrestling each other all the time without regard to gender.
Yeah, and there's actually a girl that got top 8 in nationals against guys in the 106-pound weight class.
Yeah.
So like, it's doable. It's possible for at least in wrestling. That's what I know, that or any other sport. As long as you work hard, like you could do anything that you strive to what you want to do.
Yeah. In Indiana, where I'm from, a girl, her name's Kayla Miracle. She's from my high school. She either won state or came really close in her weight class against like all boys.
Mm-hmm.
She's training for 2020. Let's go, Kayla. Yeah, sorry. Went on a little bit of a tangent, but I forget where we were. I think we saw Andraya and Sarah were as well. What do you think is fair?
Personally, in my situation, like as you said, yeah, you're right. Like track, I don't think is fair to begin with. I feel like there are like different advantages that each person has, but I think personally to us, I feel like what's fair is, which we are doing, is letting us run on the female team.
Yeah, we lose sometimes too.
Yeah, exactly. Some people like I feel like people over exaggerate what we do sometimes. Like as you said, like we don't come first in every race, but some people make it seem like we do. But I think, just letting us continue what we're doing, and letting us run on the female team. Yeah, that'd be fair.
Yeah, I feel that way. Like being able to allow the people who want to compete on what team they are, regardless of what their gender is what's fair. Like telling me to ski against males, it's like, that's not fair. Like, do I look like a male? No. So it's for me, it's hard to find a medium between fairness and unfairness. Like that's just for me. Like it's hard to find that sweet spot of what's fair and what's unfair.
I hear you. I think, at least from my reporting, like part of it is we don't have a lot of science. I think folks think the science is decided, like the presence of testosterone just makes people win stuff, and that's not actually true.
And that's the thing is that I got asked this several times, and it really is like a debatable question because I try to look from both sides because I'm an optimistic person and I try to if that were me as a mother or father, and if that was my child, in that case my daughter wrestling against someone like me, I would wonder well, how much testosterone is that person taking? What are the limitations? Because I wasn't taking enough testosterone. Everyone thought that I was taking so much testosterone that I was this mean green eating machine, and I was just I just cut 10 pounds and I just look lean as hell. And just not everyone just wanted to look on the surface. Not everybody knows the facts. And I really think that this documentary, and as we talk more about this conversation and this subject, that people are gonna really have an eye opener on what trans athletes are about and what our actual purpose is. We just want to be athletes.
And on that subject, you just want to be athletes. You said this in the film, and you said it in the film that we worked on together as well. You're excited to be known as Mack Becks.
Yeah, I did get really pissed off about that.
Why would you say that I was pissed off about that?
No, I was.
Oh, okay. I thought it was touching. But why do you feel that way?
Because I don't think I don't know if y'all feel. I'm pretty sure y'all feel this way too. We just want to be known as who we are. Just Mack. I'm a guy. I don't want to be known as a trans guy. That's I feel like saying that I'm trans helps other people, but it just in the back of my mind is, well, am I ever gonna be actually just called just a guy? Because everything in the social media is gonna say a trans guy. It's never gonna say a man.
Did you have something you wanted to add, Terry? Do you ready to talk?
Yeah, everything is but it's my name is transgender. You don't see Terry Miller. It's just transgender. They make that that word doesn't really define who I really am, and that's the problem. They try to make that word define who we are. It's just transgender. And once they see that, people click on it. That's just what it's that's what they want. But that's not I like the film. The film shows that we're not just transgender. That we live life just like everybody else, and it shows us. It doesn't just show our athletics type of thing. So that's why I really love it.
And I feel people automatically put us in this category once they see the transgender for our name. It's just again, that's not all who we are. We have so many other characteristics, qualities. But I guess when we see transgender people, we don't see all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would each of you describe yourself in 3 words? And obviously you can be transgender.
Or Deb.
Or however many words you want, I guess.
If we're sticking with 3,
Amazing.
Inside joke.
loving, kind, and charismatic.
Brave, hyperactive. I think I'm Hollywood too, a little bit.
Yes!
I gotta say, I'm witty, a goofball, intelligent, optimistic, and you know what? And I'm special.
Don't forget modest.
Look up modest and it's Matt's face.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I got
Wait a minute.
Bougie.
Wait, hey.
I'm not bougie.
No, I'm teasing.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being bougie.
Bougie.
Bougie and proud, thank you.
Exactly. Shy at times. And yeah, funny, I guess.
All right. Well, that seems like a really great spot to open it up to some audience questions. What do y'all want to ask them? First.
And unless I missed this, two questions. One, if you could just introduce yourself and what sport you primarily play. And two, if there's one thing that you would want someone to take away from seeing this film, if there is a thing, like what would that be?
I'm Sarah Rose Huckman, and I am a Nordic skier in the film. And one thing that I would love people to take away is that transgender people are humans. We're not just this defined thing. We're people. We're human beings. We're just like any other cisgender person, and that's that. Like, we're us.
I'm Andraya Yearwood. I run track and field. And one thing I would want people to take away from the film is that, I guess for the transgender community, that if you're in sports as we are, you aren't alone. That you have people that you can relate to, people that you can look up to, people that support and love you. So just know that, that you are alone.
I'm Terry Miller, and I run track and field, and something I want people to take from the film is, one, to never give up, because if you give up, that's way harder and painful than just sticking with it.
I'm Mack. I'm a wrestler. The one thing I want everybody to take away from the film is that you can achieve anything in life as long as you make it possible. No one else is going to do it for you. You have to do it for yourself.
Yes.
Okay. I'm Malika Harris. I'm with Irish Film Critic, and I want to ask you, because especially when, I don't know what scene it was, but people were talking about, being against the bathroom and sharing the bathroom and things like that. From your experience, what do you think people are most afraid of? What their fear is of just you being transgender? Like, what are they afraid of? Like, when they meet you, or what is it? Is it the bathroom thing? Is it like, this rumor that transgender is related to being a pervert? And I don't know where they got that from, but I don't know what the relation is at all. But
I think what it is that people who actually take advantage of those situations, people who actually do those types of things in the bathroom.
Right, but there has I don't know. There's never been a report of a transgender.
That's what I'm saying.
Being a pervert in the bathroom. So where would that?
That's what I'm saying. That people who aren't transgender, no transgender ever done that. Just regular people who have done that. People who say that transgender people have done that, they're taking advantage of that situation because their hatred and their fear towards transgender people. They're taking advantage of the situation, trying to put it on us, and that's not fair.
But when people meet you, do you think that circumstance is what they're one of their biggest fears, or what would keep them afraid of getting to know you, or oh my gosh?
I think it's just another thing that they want to try to control, because that's, I guess you would call it a safe place. I guess the bathroom is a safe place. And that's one thing that they think that, I think it's a safe place. I don't know.
But I mean, when people when people meet you, is that the first fear, or what did they say, or what feedback did you get like that?
From feedback from like what people like before people met me,
Yeah.
like after the fact that they like after they got to know me more, what they said was that it was like the fear of the unknown, like not knowing what to expect from not meeting a transgender person from beforehand meeting like me or any of these people, and it's like I think it's definitely big factor of it. Oh my gosh, the big factor of it is the fear of the unknown, of like not knowing what to expect. Like most people don't expect us to be the loving, kind, caring people who actually care about the world. They just they see the perverts of the world because that's how we've been labeled.
Like the
in the
stereotypes,
past.
they
Yeah.
like everything that's put on social media and everything that everybody talks about, rumors, everything like that. Like they hear that, and but then when not, because I've had people who were very negative towards transgender people that I've spoken with on Facebook, and when I started talking to them more, they eventually at the end of the conversation were like, "This is not who I thought that you were."
And what did they think who they were?
They thought that I was just like some freak in nature, and then right after I talked to them, and I was just a regular human being just trying to make my way through life.
Yeah, I feel like, and then especially in high school, it's high school. Like they make up anything to have the spotlight. Like people just love spotlight and attention. So I feel like that's another thing that impacts it. Like everybody wants to be a part of the conversation, or like want to have something to gossip about.
So you don't think they have a real like?
Because most of the people who, not most,
Yeah.
I feel like all the people who say stuff about transgenders, like negative, majority of them, they never met a transgender person before. So it's just based off social media, really.
Yeah. I think that a lot of that, I guess, negativity about the transgender community stems from just like what other people think. Does that make sense? I feel like a lot of times in society, it's a lot easier to just follow the leader and not stick out at all. I think a lot of people tend to do that, and then that will obviously create more just, again, like negativity, just hate about our community.
Hi, I'm Don Ennis. I'm from Outsports and Connecticut Voice. Andraya and I talk a little bit about something that Katie mentioned about fairness. Martina Navratilova, who's a tennis legend, has gone out of her way to say that it's just not fair for someone who's biologically male to be competing in women's sports. She even has the support of a famous transgender woman who she herself says that it's just not fair. My question to you is, as Andraya said, do you have to carry that burden? Is that something you feel that you have to respond to? Or do you want others to take that and challenge that? I want to know where you stand as far as older icons, older people standing up and saying that you don't belong in the sports that you want to compete in.
We don't have to respond to anything. Like, we
Well,
and I don't feel like we really engage. I feel like we don't really engage, and it makes them go even more crazy because they want us to, add on to their fire. So
Yeah.
we just watch it, go crazy, and it's like, oh, wow, that's great, and just move on. So like, okay, Mack is on testosterone, I'm on hormones. If we race, I'm gonna win because I'm a track athlete.
Also, I'm very slow.
So,
But if he wrestles you,
oh yeah, you got that. Yeah, so like that's
we just all have our different talents.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone has their thing that they do. Like I can't paint. Like that's not like testosterone's not gonna help me paint. Testosterone's not gonna help me get faster. My hard work and running every day is gonna try to get me faster. Probably not gonna be able to still be hurt. But we all have our own thing that we do.
And they talk about fairness, but what about our fairness? Is that like not important, or does it not matter? Yeah, everyone else wants fairness, so why can't we have ours? Doesn't make any sense.
I think Dawn brings up a good point though, right? So you guys are younger generation, right? I mean, there have been transgender individuals before you, right? And there are adults who support and are your allies. Now, granted, you know, we as parents, we sit and we support you as well. But do you feel that, you know, all the publicity that you're receiving is because now there's a group of young individuals who are kind of speaking, you know, for yourselves? Should there have been a movement before you, or even older, you know, more, you know, older trans individuals who should be speaking on your behalf as well?
It would have been easier, I guess you can say, if it was, but then again, I feel like.
I think during this time.
Yeah, you can finish.
He's mansplaining. He's gonna mansplain.
During this modern time, I think now young adults have a huge and powerful voice during this time, because a lot of the adults in this world just voice their opinion rather than having an intellectual conversation and seeing both sides. And I think that is a huge no-no. Like, if you're gonna have an intelligent conversation, if you want to talk about something, especially about a very sensitive subject and a subject that can affect a very vast majority of people, like, you need to have a clear head. You need to have all the facts right, and you need to know like what you're talking about, and have an intellectual conversation, and not just
Good. Well, because I think it also brings out the point, and I'm sorry, I keep talking, but Katie knows. Okay. That I think, especially in Andraya's case, and I think in Terry's case, so Mack and Sarah, you speak for yourselves as well, that a lot of the